had a live in-person workshop where we painted our wings called Rise Above Workshop. It was here in Mesa. Had a lovely intimate group. And I wanted to take a look. I've got 2 sets of wings here at various stages. This was the demo I did in the class, in the workshop, and it's pretty far along. And then this was the demo I brought with me, which has one side a little further along and one side kind of open. But I think I might leave it like this. Reason being is it's kind of nice to have this with me to bring as a demo for the next time we do that workshop. So I think I'm gonna go back to this pair here since this is kind of further along and just give it the finishing touches. So it was 2 panels that we did, and you could have gone this way or you could have gone this way, which is pretty awesome. I think the next one I do might be in this direction. It fits nicely together on my easel. Let me just kind of center it here. Here we go. Okay, so while I pick out some colors, how is everyone doing out there? Let me know what creative magic you're getting into. You have any creative projects going on this weekend? Got so much paint on my fingers, so I'm just gonna wipe it off here on the canvas. Why not? I did this canvas last weekend during the Rise Above Wing Workshop, which is a sacred art painting and meditation workshop. And it was the first time I was holding it in person. And it was just fabulous. I'm just squirting a few different colors on my palette. Some pink. I've got light magenta, light olive green, and light violet. Oh boy. A lot of my paint colors are getting close to the end, which is a good thing, I guess, right? And then maybe I'll bring in I'll bring in some Payne's Gray to tone down all of those pastel-y colors a little bit. And then I've got black and white. So here's my palette. I've got the black, Payne's Gray, light violet, white, light magenta, and light olive green. Although I do really love this mint color. So I'm gonna try and keep some of that mint color in there. Maybe I'll add a little white to pick up that green and add some white. And this way I have more of a even lighter version. So a little bit about this canvas. So this is on, you're looking at it in its third layer phase, because the first layer we did during the workshop called the freedom layer. That's our first one we put down, really fun. And then we take a break, do a visualization meditation. And in that meditation, we get to meet an aspect of ourselves, and there's lots of things that may show up during that meditation part of the workshop. And then when we're done with that, then we come back to the canvas and we paint something that showed up for us, either an actual depiction of something that showed up, or maybe the place, landscape kind of idea of where you were, or really anything, just the energy or the feeling that you had during the meditation. Any of those things show up, and then you bring that to your canvas for your second layer. For me, it was a pineapple. And it was a pineapple because I did the workshop for myself the night before the workshop itself, before I led it, to just kind of get in the frame of mind and kind of go through the process for me before I show up for everyone else on Sunday. And when I did the meditation, I was given the gift of a pineapple. So pineapple has a symbolic meaning of hospitality, of friendship, and of, yeah, just like good vibes, you know? And so that was perfect. It was the perfect metaphor for me trying to get into the space where I was gonna facilitate the next day. So for me, I had the freedom layer, and then I had a pineapple is what was behind these wings. And then the last layer was to do the outline of the wings, which I started in white. And in this particular case, I added all of the purple because the whole background was oranges and pinks that you're seeing in the feathers here. That was my first and second layer. So I did the white for the wings, and then I outlined in the purple to allow that background layer to really come out. So where I'm at now at this stage would be to just finesse the painting, to kind of put the finishing touches on it. And it's had a few days of just kind of resting since that was last Sunday. And now I'm just gonna come back in and see what I wanna add just to round out the design. Now, I kind of could just stop here if I wanted to, but I usually tend to go one more step further and just see what comes of that. And creativity shows up, you know, so differently for all of us. And so at this point, I'll probably work inside the wings, outside the wings. I just sort of try and usually bring back anything that might have been on my layers underneath that I liked, and maybe I lost it when I painted on top, and now I might want to bring that back. And what I mean is, like, if I made a bunch of little marks in a certain color and now that color is gone, you can kind of use this opportunity to bring that back. Or accentuate anything. Like, I'm liking these little swirls that are happening off to the side and up here and over here. They're kind of indicative of circles. And specifically, it makes me think of like circling up creativity creatively with friends. And so I think I might just accentuate that a little bit. So using colors out of the tube is great, but if you can take a couple of those colors and mix some new colors, so you'll get some more opportunity for harmonious colors on your canvas. So in this case, I took some of this green and I mixed it with some of the purple. And since green and purple are on opposite ends of the color wheel, you get kind of this brownie color. And sometimes it's nice to just have something that's a little more earthy in the mix on some of those brighter tones. I could do the same thing with the pink. I could take the pink and mix it with this olive green, and it kind of gives me a coral color. See that? Teresa's asking, did you use an idea journal I didn't, but I did have a sketch in my art journal similar to these wings that I referenced. I wonder where I put that. So this is from a couple of years ago, and I have this in my art journal. So when I came to this particular class, originally I have a pair of wings I did in this process that went out wide this way in a really long, wide canvas. So that didn't quite fit the shape of what I had going on here, because this is more of, actually turns out to be a square, I think. Yeah, it's 12 by 24 for each panel. So it's 24 by 24 when it's together. And so since I had a totally different shape I was working with, I went back to my art journal and found these wings in there and used that as my reference point. So in effect, that's what I think my sketchbooks are, kind of like an idea journal. I have a handful of them going at any time. I've used them for years, and you never know what idea, you know, you might look back at and go, ah, I actually want to do that now on a bigger canvas. And that was something that maybe at the time you just did as a little sketch and a little quick thought that you now want to bring in full canvas mode. So what I'm seeing here is that there's definitely more happening on this side, and there's a lot more kind of plain purple over on this side. So maybe I need to come over here and just play a little bit. You can use different shapes of brushes to create different marks. You can use the bottom of one of these foam brushes to tap into some paint and then create like some little dots. And at this point, it's kind of like, when do you know you're done? I don't always know when I'm done. Sometimes I go past when I should have been done. And then other times, it's just right. I just have to play around until I feel like I'm ready to stop. And that's kind of a personal preference, how far you want to go with it. I tried to figure out when it's no longer fun to keep adding, when I get to the point where I might be a little frustrated, then it's a good time to stop. But until then, just play. It's real quiet right now. I don't have any music or anything on. So if I want to add, which I'm thinking I do, if I want to add some smaller details, just gotta switch to a smaller brush. Maybe I'll try it in this Payne's gray color with some white mixed in, and just see how it feels to add some little wisps for feathers. I don't know if I'm too far back for you to be able to see what I'm doing, but I'm not sure. I kind of feel like I like it without it. So what do you do in that case? I'm just gonna dip my rag in some water and I'm gonna wipe that paint off since that's still wet. I can wipe it away. So sometimes you try things and it doesn't really work, and that's okay. You can use a paper towel that's damp to just wipe away the paint that was still wet. And it shouldn't really affect much below it if what's below it is dry. So if you had multiple layers that were wet and you start to wipe away, you're gonna smear them and you're gonna take away, like for instance, this was wet here. So it's gonna take away some of that too. But if your layers underneath are dry, it should just take that top layer of paint off. All right. That didn't work. I didn't like that. Instead, I'm just gonna bring some of that Payne's Gray on the outside of these wings, of each of these feathers. And that's kind of one of my favorite things about painting is it is forgiving. You can paint over something, let it dry, and then paint right over it, especially with acrylic, really easily. Or you can wipe something away that was not working for you. Now I just want to bring a little bit more of that gray color outside of the wings a little bit. probably gonna come back and brighten up this heart a little bit. I'd like to bring that mid-green color back. I like that color. I think that was this one, the bright mint. One of the things that's nice is your canvas gets a little bit darker in color. You can come back with some of those brighter colors. To pump up the volume again. See if I can. I think I'll take some of that mint and just flick it a little bit. See how that looks. For those of you out there that look at art, do you like when art has a name, or do you like when it is a little vague or untitled? Let's bring some more pink in. I like this pink down here. I like to call this like the dancing stage, because I just kind of dance around the piece trying to figure out what is needed where. I love the pink next to this olive green. I might need to do that. Ooh, and this is a little dark right here, so let's brighten that up. I think it's a good indicator of what a beautiful class it was to be a part of and to facilitate. What do I need? I need more of that green. Those of you know me know I love green. Teresa says she likes the name of a painting because it's the artist's idea of what they drew. Yeah, so it helps to give you a little frame of reference when you see a name. Let's take take a very small brush again and use some of this light olive green and just kind of smush it around in here. Just kind of make some marks. You can move your hand really fast with a little brush like this, and write words, but don't really have the words be readable. I'm gonna add a little bit on top of here. Let's see, how do we feel about that? Does it feel done? Take a step back. This is a paint pen. And I like to have fun with these kind of at the end. And you might want to add a little more texture and have a little more control maybe. It's just gonna write like a marker. They're also fun to just do kind of dots and stuff with, and then I might smear them a little bit. come back with my smaller brush again and some more of the white, because when I step back, I feel like this little area got a bit dark, and I want it to have these little white textured bits. And I'm going to do the same thing over here on the top. I might just do that, a little bit of white on the feathers. As a final touch of contrast. I feel like I can't decide what I want to do on this heart, if I want it to be lighter or darker. I think I'll put this olive on. And then come back with the mint again. Sometimes it's like just be like, why are you doing that? Why do you keep covering it up? You had it as mint. But I also feel like those extra layers add more depth later on. Or maybe I just tell myself that because I keep changing it. What would it look like if I mixed the mint with the gray? What color would come out? I kind of do a lot of that while I paint. Like, what would it look like if I did this? What would it look like if I did that? So I feel like the heart probably needs to dry a little bit so that I can figure out what's next. Let's just smush. Let's do a little smushing. Sometimes your fingers are the best tool. Okay, I like that. I like what's happening there. So I'm gonna give you guys a little closer look. I'll probably stop here for today and see where I end up later. But here is a closer look of all that fun painting play on one side. And here's the other side. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens from there once it dries. Sometimes when it dries, the colors, you know, kind of look a little different. So, but I think we're close to being done here. Thanks, Lori. Lori says, I love the heart. See what happens when you do all of those messy layers? You get a lot more depth and all sorts of fun texture happening. And I love painting with your hands. Sometimes when a brush is getting frustrating or something is just not feeling like it's working, just use your fingers. Because we have just a certain different tactile feeling we get when we paint something with our fingers. Yeah, I'm gonna let it sit here and see what happens to it next, but I think it's pretty close. I think it's pretty close to being done. Sometimes I can be my own worst enemy by going too far. So I'll probably stop here for today and figure out if it's done. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. It was really nice to have just a old-fashioned painting sesh with you. I haven't done that in a while. For those of you that have a nice long weekend, maybe you'll find some time to be creative and just tap into your creative magic a little bit. If you do, share it with me. Go to the Discover Your Creative Magic Facebook group and snap a picture and share what you're working on. I'd love to see it. If you ever had any questions or anything like that too, you can ask those in the group. Rosalinda says we'll go back and watch. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you. Same to you. All right, everybody. Bye.